because we're talking about The Hunt. And we're going to talk about spoilers with this one. So The Hunt, this is quite the journey it's had, right? So it's funny. So this movie is announced, and I think a teaser, a trailer, something like that to get the concept. And to me, the film looked very low budget horror movie with kind of a fun plot point, but a plot point we've heard before. It's Hunger Games style, it's The Condemned, it's The Deadliest Game, it's all these things, right? Where it's you get a bunch of people, they're put in location, and they got to kill each other off or kill some people off to get to a certain point or live. We've seen this done, kind of what I was talking about in my Onward review, where we've seen similar stories. So it's kind of like, what is new about this? The new thing is, it was taking a political spin. And this where if you. So here's the opening, too. If you just are really, really left, like left winged, or really, really right winged, you're not going to enjoy this movie, I don't think. And you're not going to enjoy this review. Because I have no problem getting political. We don't talk about that much on the podcast, but that's why I dynamic do it. It's it's my show. It's what I create, so I can do whatever I want. So for me, if you're very easily offended by this, you won't. And I've seen that a lot. And that's where it's tough with this movie. So this movie comes out, the political slant is, okay, it's going to be a bunch of left wingers hunting durables. Durables. I can never say that because I've heard it, but I never call people that. Durables. I think that's how it goes. But so it is Republicans being hunted by Democrats. Pretty much you're black and white. And it's like the worst of the worst Democrats, right? So for me, if you are offended by just that concept or anything, it's definitely back away. And especially when this movie hit VOD, I saw some people that I kind of follow here and there on Twitter that were just, it was really bad, blah, blah. And uh, it's tough. The political climate is so tough, right? Because you want to believe certain things, but there's things where people I felt that were, and I'm not going to name any names, but people, in my point of view, were saying that and saying bad things about the movie. But I also know they're very left wing and very, very left wing. And I saw that a lot with Joker too, where anything negative about the movie, whether it was true or not, and this movie tackles that a lot about facts and statements, whether it's true or not with Joker, you'd hit a like and you'd see it. And there's a few people I almost unfollowed. It sucks because there's one person I really like as a podcaster and it was just like reaming on Joker. And I have no problem reaming on certain things if it's valid, but there's other things you just do the eye roll. It's like, really, we're going this route? Like, this is how important, like, especially when people, there's things where it's like, Joaquin was like, oh yeah, I chose to eat very little to prepare for this role, and I was losing lots of body weight, and it was interesting to control my body in that way. That, again, that mindset of, I can literally shape and form my body, and people being like, oh, he's hurting people, what is it, oh my goodness, what would be validating? Oh my god, I have forgotten both words. What is the? I literally had it, and then trying to think of the other word. It's when you're trying to get really skinny. It's why did I think of dyslexia? Either way, kind of body like he's body shaming people, or he is anorexia. That's the word. Finally, he is like validating anorexia. Like, look at Joaquin Phoenix. He's talking about losing weight, eating like a couple things a day. He's employing people to take this route. No, my goodness. And that's one thing I do like about this movie. And this is why I have no problem stating this, that I would consider myself on the left Democrat for my entire life up until about the 2020 election. And this is why you might wonder, because people always ask me this, and it sucks for me a little bit, but so I grew up a lot in the United States. My family has a cabin down there. I spent lots of summers, lots of months down there. And for me, I am Canadian. I'm proud of being Canadian, but I always consider myself a little bit American too, which is a weird thing to say. But it's just I spent so much time down there as a child and had friends down there, and especially I was around down there at the time. Not when I wasn't in the States when it happened, but just that era of being alive and being in the States after 9/11 was, it was really crazy, and I really grew to love that place. And I always was somebody that said, I'm going to move to the States. I'm just giving you this preference, so if you want to know my political backside, and that's why I can speak from both sides, because I feel like I consider myself independent now. I see the worst of and I think you do too, some people, but there's other people that don't. I see the worst of the right and the worst of the left, and I think this movie does a good job of that. I think before I get back to myself, I'll say something about the movie before someone's like, he's not even talking about the movie, he's talking about himself. I think the movie is good. I think you need to go in with the right expectation of, one, whatever side you are on, just sit back, and have a little fun. It pokes fun at Democrats. It pokes fun at Republicans. I think it pokes a bit more fun at Democrats, but that's the slant because they're kind of the antagonists, right? So that makes sense. It is a satire. I think it. How does it succeed? I don't know if it. I enjoyed it a lot because it was so over the top. It was so out there, and they do some really fun, risky things, which I liked. The satire aspect, it's not, and especially as far as satiring the political side, not subtle at all. It's not one of those things where this is very cleverly done. This is smart. This is really the joke is right in your face, and they're telling you the joke. Or it's like you tell your friends the most gross, obscene, knock knock joke. Is it that funny? No, but because of just you said something outrageous, like we do on the podcast sometimes, it gets a laugh. So that's what happens, I think, in this. I think that the some of the problems I have is as far as the satire point of view is I don't think it could decide did it want to be a very serious, hyperactive, hyperdrive movie with a satirical slant or a very over the top scary movie sometimes at time slant. There's a one point where I won't say when it is. These two characters are fighting for their life. They both get knocked down. And one looks over and they say, 1 minute, and the other person goes, yeah, 1 minute. That seems like something at a hot shot. So I think that's the biggest struggle this movie has is it doesn't know what type of kind of comedy it wants to be or satire it wants to be. If it wants to be the highest of the highs or the like kind of a satire, but it's tongue in cheek or it's playing it very smartly. There's times it is, but then there's times where someone's just like, you snowflake or, oh, you can't say black, you can't say African American. It's stuff where it's, oh, there was one other line too that was really just like right in your face, like, okay, they're just going for it. And that's what I did appreciate, where I think they didn't always strike the perfect balance. I think them going for it made me enjoy it, and I got to sat back, laugh at both sides, because both sides are laughable. Both sides do terrible, stupid things from doesn't matter who the person is, what candidate or what president. And it was just an over the top action film. Even if you don't like the political stuff, it was honestly, if you're playing Call of Duty Warzone right now, it was felt like a video game movie. It felt like you are with these characters, they're running place to place, and it's like, you gotta get in this cage, hurry, get in this cage. There's an arrow, hurry. It is so frantic. It is a snap neck pace, which I really like. There's only I think a few lulls in the middle, but I really liked it. The beginning was batshit crazy. The beginning was all over the map and in a good way. It was you were guessing every second. I felt like there was a kind of a Scream tribute there to Drew Barrymore. And my last thing as far as the movie, because I'll talk again about my political self, is I think it's Betty Glip. But I think it's Betty Gilp. She's all I know her from is from Glow, and I am on the bandwagon of people being like, oh, she should be She-Hulk, even though of course Alison Brie might be that. It's kind of funny with Glow if you think about that. I say this about any movie. It doesn't matter horror, fantasy, sci-fi, comic book movie. I say even Wolverine Origins, one of the lowest tier comic book movies out there, because Hugh Jackman is in it and doing the best he can and a great job. Because he's great as Wolverine, I will watch and have some enjoyment out of it. And I think that's the same thing with any movie. If you have a lead that even if you think this movie is trash, I think Betty is putting her best foot forward and she kicks ass. And I really like this character. This is a character, honestly, I would love to see more of down the line. It shades back to like a Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, which I know lots of people try to go for at times. So like, oh, it's just like that. But it feels like Carmen Coffin. This feels, maybe they were going for the carbon copy route, but she feels unique. She feels different. And I honestly think it is all in the performance. She's a weird, kooky character. This movie's weird and kooky, but I think that it's all on her shoulders. It's all lies in her. And I think any other actress, not any other actress, but any other actress that might have just read the dialogue, done as good as possible, this movie would not be as enjoyable. You gotta enjoy the lead in this type of movie because they're taking you from place to place. There's murders, all this stuff. That you're meeting random characters. You're meeting tons of new characters at a very quick pace. You need someone to carry it, and I think she does a great job. And I can't wait to see the rest of her career. You got Glow, you got this. I just want to see where she goes. I hope she really blows up because I think she is one of the most underrated actresses out there right now, and especially the work she does on Glow. She's just phenomenal, and seeing her in this, it's a completely different character. I didn't know because I didn't watch many of the trailers what she was playing, and she does it very, very well. So as far as we went into the whole movie, I don't think I really needed to talk about my political stuff, right? I guess I wanted to clarify that I was very why I guess right. I was talking about why the states and why if you wonder from bias one way or another, I wanted to move to the states. I really don't now, unfortunately, because I don't like a lot of the things going on there. Which I'm sorry, because most of our listeners are American, but hey, fight for your country. If you feel it's going bad, make it better. But that's just from me a point of view. And also, I met a girl and a lady and had kids who wants to stay in Canada. So it's one of these things where it's like, one, didn't really want to go anymore. At least like I'd love to live there, but not full time. I think I'd want a place there eventually. The same way my family still has a cabin. That's gonna be me, whether I get that cabin or we share it or I get some of my own. I always love America and have friends out there, and I go there a lot. I went there a lot in my younger years, and for me, it was just I was Democrat my whole life, and I consider myself, and that's why I know a lot of not a lot. I think just as far as Canadians go, a lot about American politics, and I know more about American politics than Canadian, which I'm sad to say, but because I honestly planned on living in America, I probably still plan on retiring in Florida. I know it's like this most cliche thing ever, but I love Florida. Miami is my second home. I'll always say I love Miami. Any chance I get to go Miami, I'll take it. And oh man, I want to go this next few years. So, and then after the 2020 election, I became independent because there were some things that, and I think that's one thing this movie does try to pause. And I think, like I said, I don't think it does it the most subtle way, maybe not in the most clever way at times, but I think they're trying to have some fun and just. There are times where I feel like the characters say this to each other, but they're also just looking at the camera where, yes, it is like this really ultra unrealistic world where these people are put in the situation to have to kill each other. Hopefully it's unrealistic, but there seems like many times where it's the characters or they're looking at the camera being like, hey, at the end of the day, it's just politics. We're people. Like, let's put that aside. Like, enough is enough, you know? And obviously that's a message people have been saying for years, but it's just kind of one of those things of like, does this really matter? Why are we making such a big deal of it? Of course it matters. Of course it matters, especially like in the States. You guys are going through election right now. Very crazy election that could be. But at the end of the day, a president's going to happen in a year, and then you got to live with each other. Is it worth taking each other's head off for a certain party or a certain president or a certain candidate, or at least trying to find some middle ground? So I think it made it really obvious it was doing that, but it put that message forward. That's why I was trying to think it was just like, hey, let's just have some fun with both sides. Maybe one side got a little bit more, yeah, but like I said, they're the antagonist. I think it was just like kind of relax, have some fun with it, you know? And then they were all people. And that's exactly it. And that's why I'm not gonna get into like why I like I guess left the Democrat Party. I just didn't like, certain things. And I always say this is the simplest way I'll say this. Is and this is a very I'll probably this is most political I'll get on like a podcast unless we do a separate show. Trump is, whatever he wants to think. I'm not a supporter of him. I'm not a fan. If you are, that's fine. He says a lot of insults. He makes fun of a lot of people. In my opinion, targets a lot of people that don't deserve it. Look at the guy that had special needs and had some ability problems with the wheelchair, things like that. He's been on case many times, right? Whether you support him or not, that's been a thing. And for me, I do, and especially because that's when I was starting to come up. I was coming up when George Bush was president, and then the switch to Obama happened, and it was a huge time, lots of momentum, and that was just great seeing, especially me being on that side, seeing everyone united. And Trump obviously has that right now with tons of people unite on him, but there's lots of mudslinging both ways, and that was the thing where I don't know why this quote stuck with me. It just always has, and it maybe because I was younger and it was like the first president there. I couldn't vote. I'm not American, but just Bush was to me. Bush was already elected, and that's where it switched for me. Is after 2011 or 2001 when 9/11 happened. That's when I started getting more into politics and looking into it. Bush had already been elected, so I didn't feel like I went through election as like a elementary going to middle school person, but with Barack, I felt like, oh, I'm a part of this, or at least like I'm a part of history, seeing what's happening, right? Or Bush I had to go back and read, and for me, that's where it was great. It's Democrat, that's all going, and that's probably why it stuck with me. But this quote that, and whether you like her, or like Obama, or you like Michelle Obama, this quote, and this is why I'm not a Democrat anymore. She would say there were lots of mudslinging at Obama, right? For many reasons, whether he was born there, whether it's a race thing, whether it's just him being a bad president. And she said this thing, and I try to do it in my life. It's not always successful, but I try to hold myself to a standard like this, sometimes dealing with people that might be annoying. She said this quote of someone asked her, about, oh, all this stuff coming Brock, and she goes, when they go low, we go high. And that's the best thing I can say to sum it up, that I feel like in 2020 and since then, as the Democrats, we go low. Whether the Republicans go low or not, that's not an excuse. That's where I feel sometimes, and I feel like some people that are really left wing do that and go, oh, well, because they're going that low. That to me was the point of how they won that election. One of the things is just you got to be better, and I feel like we're not better. So that's why I'm independent. So that's why if you're wondering one way or another, it's slanted because it's a bit more political review. Not really. I guess I definitely do slant left and Democrat as far as values, but I am definitely independent. I am somebody that was in. If I was in America, it would come down to the every 4 years, where am I going, which direction. If you're gonna ask me this year, it's Biden, but that is because I don't hate that. I shouldn't say that because I don't vote in Canadian elections because I that's another thing. But this is getting really political. Then I'll stop. There's so many people that really fight for some people's cause, and then if you ask them who they vote for, like, oh, I'm not gonna tell you. I don't know. If you don't believe in yourself to stand who you're saying you're gonna vote for, I don't really believe like your values that much. That's why I could straight up say that if I was American, I'd be going Biden just because it's kind of that anyone against Trump. I think Bernie should have been in there, but we're long past that. So there's my review of The Hunt, ladies and gentlemen. As far as spoilers, I'm not. I don't think I need to give any spoilers. Let's say. So here, I'll give you a score, and I'll give a 3, 2, 1, and then I'll get into spoilers quickly. It'll probably be like a minute to 2 minutes to shout anything. I will give it a 7 out of 10. That means it's enjoyable. I would watch this again, and I don't think I'm dying to see it again. But in a year or two, if it pops up on Netflix, pops up on Crave, pops up on Amazon, I go, you know what? I quite like The Hunt, and I liked. That's when they all give it 2. The action is really, really good. I didn't look in to see who did it. It's not John Wick level, but it feels kind of like that. I talked about the pacing of the movie being snap neck. That's what this the action felt like. Especially there's a good final fight scene, so that was really good. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it. I think if you match all those values that I said about, you can take a joke, know what you're getting into. It's a very over the top satire. Sometimes it is very violent, swear. So I had to watch this one without Gwen. So there you go. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. I don't think I have much to say other than the beginning was batshit crazy, and I loved it. I had seen pictures of Ike Barinholtz and Emma Roberts, but like I said, I was staying away from most trailers because I wasn't sure if I was going to review this. And I did. And so Emma Roberts there, she's in the movie for about 2 minutes. Her head gets blown off. It's like crazy. And then there's a guy that was with her. He goes and he gets blown up. And then when Ike Barinholtz goes and it's a running joke. But I really like that. As somebody that had still stayed away from spoilers, everything like that, it got me, and I was enjoying. I was having just a good time with it. Like that's where it felt like a Call of Duty like video game. Literally, like, oh, you were this character. Oh, they died. What about this? Oh, they died. And the beginning was tons of fun. Definitely more near the middle and meanders a bit because you're with Betty the whole time, and there's lots of down. There's some not lots of downtime, but there's downtime. That beginning, especially when they introduce Betty too, of she orders the cigarettes and she goes, cigarettes are 69 cents in her basket, you bitch, and like some of the lines they gave her. There is one line though there when she was talking about what she did with Dan, the soldier guy. She's like, "I'm just a car salesman, and I could leave, but she made me." Ooh, I don't know. I wasn't watching with subtitles. That part didn't work for me. I didn't know what was going on in that scene about her talking with a fellow war vet. Very odd. It felt like uh, maybe she ad-libbed that or was being what do they call that when you oh, what is it? What type of comedian? There's like when you're getting on a stage and there's like the thing called the growlings. You learn like I don't know. I'm great with words today, as you can see. It's like making stuff on the spot. It's like when you play the bench game where you sit down and you're supposed to make up a story and whatnot. I know you know what I'm talking about, but maybe she ad-libbed that. Maybe she took a little of I'm gonna read these lines a certain way and make it my own, which is fine because I feel like it is like a comedian where sometimes a joke hits, but as long as the next 3 hit, you're fine. Or sometimes a joke doesn't hit, but if the next 3 hit, you're fine. I think that's what it was at. It was like this this didn't really work for me. And there's a few faces she makes and a few like wild ways she will say bitch or say something like that worked for me the most part. But that's what I liked. I would like her, whether it's her, the writers, director, told her to take this chance and be really kooky with this character. I'd rather that scene miss and in the rest of the movie her still be kooky than just a badass blonde who is just badass. That's it. Where she, for a character that doesn't get much backstory, we get a little bit on her, but that doesn't have much. She felt like she made her lived in and felt natural. So, love Betty, and that's all I gotta say for spoilers. I don't know if I have any favorite kills. I think all the kills at the beginning were my favorite. I did love when she burst in the bunker. That was really good. The Hillary Swank fight was when we got the most over the top, and that's when it was really. That's when I referred to the non-spoilers like 1 minute. That's when it went a bit, not a bit too, because I still enjoy it, but a bit too as far as me. Okay, I don't know which you want to be, and that's where it felt like Top Gun sometimes, where it's like even the way they throw each other, it's like they went really far. Like now we're out of the realm of believability. So before we get out of here, because I'm about to end this podcast, I'm gonna improvisational comedy. Improv. I didn't even have to look up. You know how I remember that? Go look up Liam Neeson and Ricky Gervais. That is a clip that I watch almost every month. Let's do some improvisational comedy now. Watch it and you'll love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this review. This was kind of an all-over review. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's all over, right? Multiple reviews. I went on tangents. That's what we do in Dynamic Duo. And you know what? I've seen that before. People go, "Oh, this guy, ADD. He sure like runs around a lot." Conversation. As I always say, this is supposed to be like friends hanging out. I'm hanging out with you. This is how I am in real life, and that's why I try to bring it all back. But with Soulcast, just try to have some fun. I hate Soulcast where I look and people look like I have bullet points. Sometimes I want to hit this and this things I might want to say specifically. I'll write down, but I hate people that do cast alone. I just feel like, man, you're just a fucking robot, and you're just like you've clearly thought about this all day, and you're just saying it. There's times where I, like I said, have bullet points, but I always want to feel natural and have some fun with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed all these reviews. Like I said, I will be back in a few days or next week to bring some other ones. I'm hoping to even finish that Tiger King on Netflix, but this is what we're doing because there's not much news, right? So I love contributing to the channel. I love, especially these past months, like the more I've done these solo casts again, people have been striking me up doing conversation based off a topic. So I love doing this. As I said below, all the social media, the video and audio feeds are all down below. So thank you very much for tuning in. And hear from me next. It'll not be boring.